Who's watching the Watchers? That's the question they ask in the film Shadow Government. And more importantly, who are the Watchers? What are they building? What type of society do they want? Their program is public, but it is horrifying once you research it. But we have a responsibility to face this and stand up against it. The film also has a Spanish language option. It's available again at Infowars.com, Shadow Government. It's available at Infowars.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139. That's 888-253-3139. The best place to show this is to your churches. We need to get the churches in America awake to this Big Brother grid. I mean, they're saying they want to implant us with microchips. They're putting RFID in most of the products now. They're tracking everything. I mean, this is literally what was envisioned on the Isle of Patmos, but most churches aren't discussing it. And you got Pat Robertson saying biometrics, thumbprinting is fine, naked body scanners are good, Obama's of the Lord. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, this is sick. And the great delusion is upon the people right now. Shadow Government exposes it. Okay, going back to André van Heerden and, of course, Grant Jeffrey. André, again, I've heard this story a million times. I mean, literally, just callers, emails. People think we're making this stuff up. They think that Catherine Albrecht's making it up, or G. Edward Griffin, or Daniel Estlin in your film, until they actually look at the statements and publications of the government, of the elites, and what's being built. I mean, what was the process like for you? You get approached, because you're already a successful filmmaker in your own right, by the author of the book that this film is based on, Grant R. Jeffrey. And, I mean, what was the process like? You said you thought it was conspiracy theory at first. How long did it take you to have a crash course in reality?
Actually, it's a bit of a backwards scenario for us. We had worked with Grant Jeffrey 15 years ago on a documentary called Final Warning, which looked at a lot of the same things in Shadow Government. Now, very tellingly, 15 years ago, when we produced Final Warning, and we were talking to the cast, to the crew, and when we were marketing it, we kept being told, well, you know, this stuff isn't really true, and so what if someone's watching me? I have nothing to hide. That happened time after time after time. Now, suddenly 15 years later, the same sort of material, you look at it and say, you know what, we were dead on. Everything that we had said was going to happen in Final Warning has already happened, faster than we thought was going to happen. And now when we're producing Shadow Government, everyone's paying attention. So we were aware of Grant's book, Shadow Government, saw it, and thought, you know what, we're a feature film company. We're best known for producing the Left Behind series of films, but we wanted to get back to our roots to doing a documentary, particularly because of this title. And so we actually approached Grant and said, you know, we would like to do the documentary for your book. Thankfully, Grant said yes, and we had a good relationship before, and really kind of dove into it. And I was planning to pull out the nuggets of truth, things that we could verify. And, you know, that's a big thing. I'm a former journalist, and so I'm always looking for background sources. So, you know, backup sources that can say, yeah, no, this is true. Now, the very best source of information is what you call an antagonistic witness, someone who is not on your political side, someone who doesn't really like where you're going with the information, yet they will confirm what you're saying. Well, you go to the UN documents, you go to the Council on Foreign Relations documents, you go to the very source, and you can find they're supporting exactly what you're saying. It's right there. It's hiding in plain sight, as you said earlier, and that was what was so compelling for us in producing it.
Well, let's cut to the chase. We know this is real. We've researched it. We've got to educate the public. The public is now ready to receive this information because we're so deep in this system now. But imagine what Hitler or Stalin or Mao or Pol Pot would have done with a cashless society. The power it gives the system to track everything you do, to be able to turn your card off, to turn your biometric scan off, to record your naked body in the body scanners and have a 360 biometric scan. Let's break down from your research what a totalitarian system can do once they fully get us on a cashless system, which they're now moving towards demonizing cash. A lot of places won't accept cash. Even if you go buy food, they still want to see an ID card many places. We're being indoctrinated. They're shutting down the family farms and ranches. Grant Jeffrey, get into that.
already about 98% cashless, and there are some northern European countries where cash is really seen as an anachronism. For example, I have a computer ring called an iRing. It has a computer chip inside it with a credit, and you, rather than pay for a subway, a train, a bus, you just simply touch that iRing that you wear as a ring, or you can have like a key fob on a child's book pack, and you just touch it to the screen, and instantly they withdraw the amount of money. But now there's a complete computer record of how long you were on that subway, who else was in that subway car with you, and the tracking technology that comes with this type of technology is phenomenal. For example, after 1948, the English-speaking victors of World War II, Britain, United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, decided to do something that had never been done before in intelligence. While they still have the James Bond cloak and dagger spies, they created a new type of system which would be an electronic vacuum cleaner that would listen and record on hard drives every single radio and telephone conversation, every fax, then with the introduction of personal computers, every email, and now all of your Internet surfing. Because it's so vast, there's obviously not enough human listeners to monitor this stuff, and frankly, they're not interested in your conversation discussing, yesterday's movie. But what they do is they use the tremendous computer technology, the cheapness of hard drive memory to store everything just on spec. And so they record every phone call, even the voices, and then they use deep data mining to instantaneously, at trillions of calculations per second, to look for key voices, addresses, names of weapon systems or names of individuals.
And that's 25 years old with the echelon keyword, but it's a lot worse than that. They now admit that they're able to predict off your cell phone travel, where you move, patterns you have, up to 93%. It's actually much worse. And to literally begin to predict mass movements of society and predict the future and test their propaganda on the media and see if people are buying it in their private emails, phone calls. And it's all crunched into giant graphs and data. And then if they want to zoom in and say, have your recorded voice, they then have computer programs that can copy your voice. Now, most of the toll roads, you don't pay with a swipe or even a tracker chip. They read your license plates. They track you in real time on the roads. The public schools and the government are dialing in, watching people over their laptops, even at home. That's now admitted. And in states like California, over 1 million government bureaucrats, police, and others are exempt from the license plate camera tickets and things and are literally above the law. So we also, as one of the Rockefellers told Aaron Russo, we cover this in my film Reflections and Warnings, they said, look, we're all going to have a chip, and my chip will say, basically, I'm above the law because I'm an elitist. And that's the thing. These private globalists are building this private corporate world government, and they are exempt. It's like in the EU. The EU bureaucrats, the rest of the EU is paying over 50% income tax. They pay 17%. I mean, it's just, it's an absolute class system.
Well, you're right, Alex. And one of the things the natural person who's an innocent, law-abiding Christian, church-going person would say, well, look, I live an honest life. I do not break the law if you don't count speeding, and therefore, why should I really be worried, even if what you're saying is true?
You're who they don't like. You're who they don't like. They want to track you, understand you. They want to raise the taxes until you rebel and bring a police state in. I'm sorry.
That's not only that, but let's say, while they're recording all this stuff, and no one's really personally listening to this. It's all going into the computers. But let's say your son applies for a high-security position with the military, the government, a bank. Then, and at that point, they then go back and look at his family and friends and associates, and they do an instantaneous search of all the communications, including your Internet surfing. Well, Alex, if I know all of your phone calls and your emails, and I know all of your Internet surfing, I know more about you than your spouse or your parents. Because by our Internet surfing, we reveal our religious, political, sexual preferences. We reveal the books we read, the magazines we're interested in. We reveal our whole life when we expose our Internet surfing. I talk about these social networking sets, the sites that are out there of Facebook and Twitter, and I point out that young people especially You know, a girl, for example, I used the illustration, 16-year-old girl tells her 57 best friends on Facebook about this wonderful Christmas romance with a 22-year-old college senior, and they had underage sex and underage drinking, perhaps some illegal substances, and she thinks nothing of it. 6 years later, she's going for the dream job of her life, and all of a sudden, they don't call her back anymore because as a final thing, Human Resources went back and did a check. And once you put something on the Internet or in an email or in a phone call, it cannot be erased. It's a computer data shadow that will follow you the rest of your life.
And let's expand on that, because you're now hitting at the very heart of it.